We are back with Alex Kessler once again, but we are flipping the script today. I will be the victim, and Alex Kessler will be the teacher. I will be figuring out if One Piece cards are good or bad. The good thing is this game's only been out for a year and a half, so it's all going to be for right now. Are they good right now, or are they bad right now? I'll be evaluating 5 cards and putting my brain cell juices together to figure out what the correct answer is. Hopefully, I go 3 and 2 or better, and we have Alex Kessler here to take it away, being the teacher today. Let's go ahead and get started.
You're in the hot seat. You're the victim now, and I get to torture you. This is wonderful.
This is the first time I'm in the hot seat. You're wearing the fancy glasses. You're putting your pinky up when you drink your drink.
Of course. So these are, all right, I'm going to take these off because they turn everything orange. So this is the One Piece trading card game. It came out, I think, about 2 years ago. We are currently, the 5th set came out. The 6th set is out in Japan. And I have 5 cards. And basically all of these are either going to be good cards or very good cards or like not seeing play. Most of them will be things you recognize. There's not that many cards in the format. And I'm trying to avoid stuff that was maybe like either was really good with like set 1 and isn't good anymore, or like I would count like has seen play in one deck one time, that's not very good. So let me know when you're ready, and obviously you can ask as many questions as you want on like playability, how this works, what the rules are, and I'll do my best to answer questions without giving away any secrets. We're gonna start with a wild one. So here we go.
Okay. I have no One Piece experience. I think I played like one deck one time. It was like a blue deck, and it did this cool thing where you got to like do cards off the top of the deck or whatever. But I don't know anything, and that was like, almost a year ago now. So we'll see how the cards are now. So we have Moby Dick. We have a 2 mana. You call it mana?
No, it's 2 cost.
2 cost. Okay, 2 cost. It's the Moby Dick. Kind of written like a comic, right? Your turn. If you have 1 or less life cards, you're Edward Newgate, and all your characters with Whitebeard Pirates and its type gain plus 2,000 power. Trigger, play this card, and it's part of the Whiteboard Pirates, I guess, archetype? Is that like the archetype that it's in? Like if you had a card that like searched a Whitebeard Pirate, would you be able to like search this card?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay, so starting with it's a red card because it's red. Are there different colors?
Yes, there are 6 colors. And that I know of, none of the cards in your deck are multicolored. They're all one of 6, and then you have leader cards that dictate which colors you can play in your deck.
Okay, so there's leaders that have different color identities?
Yeah, so your leader could be monocolor. A lot of them are 1 color and or 2 color. Technically, there's 1 5 color, but that's like only for like pre-release limited events. It's not really played in tournament play.
So your turn is a once per turn ability, or is it when you play this card? It's like during your turn if this like
static
happens.
This isn't. Yes, it is. It is on your turn. This is a thing that is active.
Okay. If you have 1 or less life cards, you're Edward. How many life cards do you start with?
So each generally it's either 5 or 4. So your leader card, if the balance effect of playing 1 or 2 colors. So most 2 color decks have 4. Most 1 colors have 5. Your leader card though dictates when you start the game how many life cards you start with, and that's like a soft rule, right? I think technically Edward Newgate has more. Yeah, he actually starts with 6. He starts with so Edward Newgate is the leader for the Whitebeard Pirates. Generally, he has 6 life.
And do you take life cards like Pokemon, or do you take life cards the opposite way? Like do you when you like attack their leader, you get a life card, I assume, right? And then
when you take damage, your life card gets put into your hand. So it's the opposite way, I believe. Yeah, it's not snowball-y, it's catch-up-y.
Okay. And then I think the understanding I have is that you can use the cards in your hand to like block your opponent's attacks.
So some cards in your hand have counter and then 1,000 or 2,000 or some number like that, which as a defensive action you can discard them to increase the number of the card that's being attacked.
And
Or
when
any
you have
card, but
equal
generally the ones that
when you
are
have
being
equal
attacked.
power to your opponent's leaders, like toughness or whatever, do they still take damage?
Yes. So it's equal or more.
Okay, equal or more. So if you're
Yeah.
defending, you have to get your defender to like 500 or 1,000 or whatever more than what your opponent's attacking with in order to like block the attack.
So yes, correct.
Okay, and at that point you wouldn't
So,
take. At that point you wouldn't take a life. Do you have to attack with everything at once, or do you have
no,
to attack with like one
it's
at a
like
time?
it's like Hearthstone attacking. You attack individual creatures, and you can do them in any order before, after you play spells. There's no steps, if you will.
Okay, yeah, I know. Yeah, how Hearthstone attack works. That's a good one. Okay,
And it's similar to Hearthstone. There are characters that are like blockers, or I don't know what to call it in Hearthstone, but that
okay.
like you have to attack
Oh,
a
like
blocking character, or when you
taunt.
attack, the player who controls the blocker character can force you to attack the blocker versus not.
So it's like taunt in Hearthstone. Like
Right.
if a Hearthstone character or a minion has taunt, you have to attack that before you attack their life. Oh,
Yep.
that's called like a blocker or something, right?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
One thing you didn't catch when you were describing the card is that this card, the Moby Dick, is a stage card.
Oh yeah, I
So
didn't
it
catch
is
that.
not a character, nor is it an effect card. So there's 3 types of card types. This is the 3rd type.
So it's like a world enchantment in Magic,
Yes, correct.
or like a field spell in Yu-Gi-Oh. Okay.
Or enchant, maybe.
Yeah, I did not catch that. What was that?
Maybe. I couldn't tell you what it
Oh
is
yeah,
in
it's
Yu-Gi-Oh.
world enchantment and field spell and Yu-Gi-Oh are like similar. So if you have 1 or less life cards, which means you have to have taken damage, up to okay. Is there any way to take more than 1 life off of an attack from an attack?
There are some characters that can do 2 at once, so like kind of double strike in Magic.
Okay.
But it's not like a standardized rule. And then I also posted Edward Nugget, which is the leader that you would play with this card.
Oh, that's cool. Let's see. It has 6,000 like. You attack with the leaders too? Does it have 6,000 power?
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
so it has 6,000 like power
6,000
and toughness.
Basically, yes.
Okay. At the end of your turn, you can add a card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Oh, wow, that's okay. That's incredible context that I did not have. Okay, and the 6 on the bottom right means that you start out with 6 life. I think it says life underneath it. Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay. At the end of your turn, you can add a card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Wow. How many turns does a typical game last?
It varies. It's not. It's closer to Magic, like standard Magic turn length,
okay.
versus what I think Yu-Gi-Oh or like Legacy would be.
And to my understanding, you get like two dawn per turn instead of 1, unless you're going second or first.
So yeah, the resource mechanic is on turn 1 you get 1. The first player gets 1, and then from that point onward, each player gets 2 additional dawn every turn.
Okay, so if you're going second, this is like much better than if you're going first. I guess it doesn't really matter when you play this, because you would just play this when you have 1 or less life cards, because you don't want your opponent to like take advantage of this somehow, or like know you have this. What's your maximum hand
One
size?
other thing, the trigger effect. So when it says trigger, play this card, that means that if this is in your life, and if you were to draw this from your life total, you get to trigger it. That's when the trigger happens. The trigger happens when this is drawn from your life total. So
you play
this
it immediately.
is correct.
So on your end step, you get a card from your life, and then if you get this card, it triggers the trigger to play it for free.
Yeah, correct. And there's other ones that will let you draw 2 cards or do other effects. This one just lets you play the Moby Dick card for free.
The thing is, I don't know how important gaining plus 2,000 power is. Judging by the leader being 6,000, gain 2,000 power. So that includes what you're blocking with. When you block with something, do you actually kill their thing, or does it just bounce off?
So because it is only on your turn, it won't affect you blocking.
Oh, it is only on your turn. If you have 1 or less life cards, you're Edward Nugget, and all your characters with Whitebeard pirates in this type gain 2,000 power. Like power is way less relevant in like Yu-Gi-Oh, and but it's more relevant in Magic. But it's weird because it's power. Your characters have gain 2,000 power, but it's also toughness at the same time, right?
Correct. Well, no, not in this case with this card, because it's only on your turn. Toughness only matters on
Oh, got it. Okay, I didn't.
On your board during your opponent's turn.
And that's regardless of whether you have of your characters and also your like main character, your leader.
Yeah, there is like some relevance to power on your turn for like a like you can have cards that say like if a creature has or if a character has this much power, do a thing, or like that. There is some of those effects, of course, but like it for the most part on your turn, 2,000 power is just attack. On your opponent's turn, 2,000 plus 2,000. This wouldn't do anything, but your power is relevant for defense.
I would say that my evaluation of this card now is like you have it in play when your opponent plays a stage card. Does it cancel out your stage?
No, you can each have a stage card in play separately.
I would say that like you could use this to combo kill your opponent by like setting it up to where you have one life card. Wait, is this one or less life cards? Can you have 0?
Yes. You lose when you take a damage and you can't draw a life card.
Oh, got it. So you lose while you're at 0. Oh, like if you're at 0 and your opponent is successfully attacks your leader, you lose.
Yeah, correct. So it's like in Magic, if you have no cards in deck, you don't die when you have 0 cards in deck. You die when you try drawing from a deck with 0 cards.
Got it. So 1 or less life cards. So I guess you could do it as like a combo where you can, on your turn, on your end step, trigger your ability of your leader, get it from 2 to 1. Now this is online, and maybe you even trigger this by that card. There's a bunch of ways to trigger this, so you'd play like 4 of this. To try to trigger it as often as possible, and if you don't trigger it, you can just play this because it's like pretty cheap to cast anyway. Cheap cost of 2 mana or 2 cost. I would see the combo kills going off where if you're the opponent of a deck playing this, and you don't want them to have 1 or less life, but inevitably it's going to happen, so you're going to have to try to combo kill them from 2. So they're at 2, they're going to try to trigger this, or they're setting up for the turn that would trigger this. Maybe there's a different card that like gets cards out of your life as well, so they can like have this in play and then get themselves from 2 or less life on their own turn, and then this is live, and then they just like try to kill your opponent in one shot. And this is a red card, which red is usually more aggressive, so I can understand taking your own life off cards. To like do one huge turn where like all your creatures are buffed. I'm going to say this is more of a combo card, and it's more of an aggressive card, and because of that, I'm going to say this card's good.
Final answer?
That's my final answer.
You are correct. This card's good. Actually, this is one of only 2 cards currently banned in the game.
Oh my god, this card's banned?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So was I right on, or what?
Yeah. For the most part, I mean, like it's less defined combo. It's just like giving every one of your characters plus 2,000 power is such a just guaranteed way to get people over. Like most characters have somewhere around 2,000 to 5, or really 0 to 5,000 power, and like being able to get them up so that they're able to do the damage needed, even your utility creatures, to leaders. The other thing that you kind of didn't bring up that I didn't bring up that maybe I should have mentioned is that each of your lands basically have tap fire breathing to a character.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
At all times. And that added to the fact that like the best, like the big one of the big reasons this card was so good and is still good, though debatably it should be unbanned because red has gotten much worse since it was unbanned, is like you mentioned discarding characters to give like plus 1,000 or plus 2,000 to a character that you control for defense.
Right.
This basically means that those no longer work, right? Or you need 2 of them to even be, or 4 of them to even be able to counter what this one card is doing to every one of your characters. Mm-hmm. So it makes so much of the defensive math so much more difficult that you're able to just win the turn that this becomes active. And because Edward Nugget's about lowering his life total, and it like, if you think Magic the Gathering, like only your last life matters, right? The one life you lose is the one that matters to the end of the game. With this, it's that effect, but added to the fact that when you draw cards, when you lose life, you draw a card.
Right.
So like if you're able to get your life total down, you are now up in 5 cards in card advantage, and you're giving all of your characters plus 2,000 power for 2 turns in a row. So it's one of the 2 cards currently on the ban list.
Okay, so I can see this card being played as like you're setting up for this like one huge turn where they're like, okay, this is active, kill your opponent, like this same turn. Cool. All right,
I'm happy about they're that. On the back foot the whole time still, right? Like, it's nice. It's good job. You got 1 and 1. All right.
Usually I would think that cards that give power is bad, like my original thought was that this card was bad.
Sure.
But then
Sure.
I kind of like pieced together like how
That's what
combat
I'm
math
hoping
would
for.
work, and like if you could just do this and kill your opponent the same turn, and like if you're a red deck, you probably already want to kill your opponent fast, so it's probably just like finishes them off.
It like in Magic, this looks like it could just be a win more card, right? Like it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
why do I need this if I'm already ahead enough that I'm able to attack them 5 times? What does an extra 2,000 power really matter? But its interaction with the counter mechanic of like having like the main way people play defense is by discarding cards to like negate attacks that have happened. The fact that this undoes that effect is like one of the things that pushes it over the top.
Yep.
And it just like it bumps a bunch of characters to like you don't have to use Dawn to pump them. Like it makes your deck much more card and mana efficient than your opponent does on the 2 swings that matter to end the game.
Nice. And your opponent like kind of has to discard cards to stay alive, so at that point this card's like kind of card advantage in that way too. So it's
correct.
Cool.
Here is the next card, and this is a leader card.
So we have Crocodile. It is a leader with 4 life, 5,000 power and toughness. It's got a special on the top right. It's blue and purple. Is that like kind of like blue black? It's like just like remove stuff and bounce stuff or something. Maybe they don't do it like Magic does, but you know, is what it is. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
The colors aren't perfect. The colors aren't perfect matchups to Magic colors. Red, ironically, is, and blue's pretty close, but otherwise, it's not a 1-to-1 match.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see, Don X1. So that's like the requirement, right? So you need to have a Don on. You need to put a Don on this to use this. When you activate an event, you may draw 1 card. If you have 4 or less cards in your hand and haven't drawn a card using this leader's effect during this turn, so it's once per turn. Activate an event, draw a card. And I think I've seen events that kill other characters, and events that like do niche things. Like, are there any events that draw cards?
Yeah, all the events are like instant sorceries, so that they have they're all sorceries, so they have the library of abilities that sorceries have. So there's some that draw cards, kill creatures, pump spells,
and they can they can be instants or no?
There are some that are instants, but they're very rare, and they have like a specific call out text on them.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Are there any counter spells in this game?
No. Because
that would be crazy. Counter spell, draw a card, but like every time you do it, like obviously once per turn. Let's see. You start with 4 life, so you start with like a little bit less life than what we went over before.
Yeah, so most 2-color characters start with 4 life.
Okay, because you have the added benefit of being able to play both colors, so they have to balance it in a way.
Correct, and then most characters start with 5. Edward Newgate is one of the special ones. I think there are, I'm going to say 4, but there could be more than that. There are a few leaders that have 6, but often there's a drawback attached to it. For Edward, it was like at the end of your turn, you lose a life every turn. There's other ones that they can't attack. Some of the 2-color leaders that have 5 are like they're 5, but they're not able to attack as a leader to kind of make up for that. So they use that as a lever for balancing purposes.
I mean, I'm a stickler for value. I love value. So like looking at play this card, draw a card. I mean, you're not playing any creatures on the battlefield. So like you're not playing as many creatures if you're playing this. So your deck's like, I don't know, maybe like 30 or 40% events. Or even maybe more than that. Maybe there's creatures that like search for events, or maybe there's creatures that like, you know, help you add an event to your hand, or draw cards to where you could draw an event, or you just play like a critical mass of event cards to where like you're always drawing a card off this. I could see a deck like this being overwhelmed by a deck that we just went over, like a fast red deck that's trying to kill your opponent, and like you're trying to draw cards and do this value thing where your opponent is like trying to kill you. And then maybe but the thing about drawing cards is your drawing cards can be defensive too, and it depends on how many blockers you're playing and everything. But it has to be like a delicate balance between like playing enough blockers to stay alive and also having enough events. But if there's events that destroy things, that's like pretty cool. Do you have any like half event, half character cards?
No.
Okay, well that would be crazy.
One maybe extra fun piece of context: there are only 3 blue-purple leaders, so it's Crocodile, Kaido, and then the third one actually isn't even out in the US yet. Comes out in the next.
You're saying Kaido is a blue-purple card? It's exactly the same in Magic. There's a Kaido that's blue and black,
Oh yeah.
That's so
It's
funny.
with a D versus a T. But
Okay,
yes.
okay, yeah, that is really funny. Now I haven't seen One Piece before, so these cards don't have like extra significance to me, which I think is making it more fun for you. Like, oh,
Yes,
Crocodile
yes,
is like
it
a
is.
cool card. It's like, this guy gotta be good, right? It's one of the main characters. I have no idea if it's a main character or not.
Yeah, this is one of the characters I've cosplayed at Magic events
Oh, sick.
at Philly last year.
Because that means it's probably a pretty
He's the
important
guy with
character.
the gold
Except for I don't
buff.
want to try to metagame this and saying like, oh, it's an important character, so it has to be good. Not the case.
All like there are good and bad versions of important. Like the importance of the plot does help, but it doesn't mean necessarily anything.
Okay. So Dawn X1, you have to put a Dawn onto this at like sorcery speed, to just be able to like use this.
So when the Dawn is looked like that, and there's like cost, there's like tap 2, which will be like a circle with a number inside of it to like pay for a cost. This is if he has a Dawn attached to him. So remember when I mentioned that you could tap Dawn to do like fire breathing?
Yeah.
So when you do that, you add this to that. So if you use a Dawn to give Crocodile 6,000 power versus 5,000, then this ability is now active.
Okay, so I'd assume that you want to be doing this every turn. Actually, that makes it a little bit worse because you're kind of like playing off curve and playing less powerful cards than your opponent on average. It actually kind of makes you want to go first because you will have an odd number. I guess it might not even matter. You'd have an odd number of Dawn every turn, so you can use 1 and then use your 2-drop, and then like next turn you'll have 5, so you play your 4-drop and then put the Dawn on this. Or like put the Dawn on this and then play your like 4-mana kill spell or something and draw a card. Like 4 mana to kill something is like a lot. Are there any like 1 or 2 mana kill spells? Or 2 cost kill spells?
There are not as much as you would think.
Or are they
Not
just like
really.
super situational because it's like a low mana cost?
Yeah, a lot of them are often like power toughness boosting, or they have like specific effects that are like targeting either how much a character costs or how much power they have. Like it is very dependent. They're dependent, but there are removal spells.
I want to say that this card. I would love to play a deck like this in like a control deck and just try to like stop your opponent. Maybe black, maybe the purple color has like a sweeper or something that you can like play that and draw a card. You are playing a little bit off curve, which is annoying and probably bad. But my instinct is drawing cards is good. What were you gonna say?
To help a little bit, purple is probably closest to green. Black, it's like a green-black combo. It's like a Golgari
So
mechanical
does it like
space.
use cards from the graveyard?
No. It's more like it uses its Dawn as like a resource in the way that black uses life in Magic.
Oh, got it. Okay, so you pay Dawn, but your effects are powerful,
You're
but you
like
have to pay Dawn to do that.
sacrificing your Dawn back to your Dawn deck to like gain boosts for actions is a thing, and then also it has a lot of like put more Dawn into play actions.
Oh, so that's the green aspect of it. It's like kind of rampy.
Yeah, it uses its land the way that black uses life, right? Like it'll like drain or pay life to do something, but then it has life gain effects to counteract that to like gain. Like purple is the color that can do anything. Like it has the whole
like
color
black.
pie within its space, but it costs. Like black does it with cost, purple does it with cost. Often that cost is attached to Dawn manipulation, which is your lands.
Okay.
And then blue is the most blue and red are like very comparable to what they are in Magic.
Okay. This is like a Sultai control deck or Sultai leader or something.
Basically, yeah. Correct.
For those of you watching this who don't know what Sultai is, it's blue, green, black. I mean, drawing cards is just inherently powerful. Whether or not that loss of tempo matters or not, I don't know. But if you do have ways that you advance your Dawn faster than your opponent, I'm gonna say this. Like, I love value. I could be just totally wrong on this, but I'm gonna say this card's good.
It is not good.
No,
and I wish it was.
No.
For a hot second, when there was literally only the first set out and it was there, it saw some play, but it wasn't even wasn't good at the time. But it was like one of the only options, so everything saw play at that point to some extent. But
why is this card not good?
So events aren't that good.
Oh, events aren't that good.
So they're like there's definitely an interest in like this is one of the first decks I built, and I like was very quickly punished for it. Because I had the same reaction to you. I like drawing spells. I love spell slinger decks and Magic. This is what I want to be doing. I love Crocodile the character. He's one of the better villains in the story. And it just like don't do enough. They're often like a lot of the good event spells are like giant growth that cantrips basically in the format, and it just like doesn't get there enough. And then the ones that do want to trigger off event cards do more powerful things with it. So right now probably the best deck that plays event cards is a Nami deck, who's one of the Straw Hats, one of the main characters, and she's mono blue, but her ability is Thassa's Oracle or Laboratory Maniac.
Oh, wow,
wins
okay,
if you have no cards in your deck.
Yeah.
So she's playing all of these spells that cantrip and draw cards with the intent of just trying to survive until she has no cards left in her deck, where Crocodile is a deck that wants to the win con is still attacking your opponent, and because event cards don't do very much to help that plan, he just doesn't get there.
Okay, I kind of thought about this as like maybe black has like a sweeper that's like to like destroy all the creatures that have like 7,000 power or less, and then you would trigger this to draw a card, and then you would pass your turn, and your opponent just like never gets to play the game. I figured it would be like some kind of control deck.
There are control decks. Black kind of does that. Black is a different color than purple as well.
Oh, there's a black color too.
Yeah, so the colors are purple, blue, red, green, yellow, black.
Okay. I was kind of looking at this like maybe purple has like a control element to it, and like the blue aspect of it is more of like, you know, cantrip-y kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then you would just get to draw an additional card for every card that you play. So I feel like that would be like really good. But I guess if the events are awful, then yeah, this card's not good.
I think there is a universe in the long run where this card is good, right? Like I think like if there was one leader that right now isn't good that has the potential to get better, it's this one, based on Magic and knowing that like
drawing cards is
eventually
good.
Spells are good enough to see play.
Yeah.
Just right now, event cards don't have that power level, and the ones that do don't go well with what's going on here, and it just hasn't ever been able to do well.
Okay. Makes sense.
I'm going to give for the next card, I gave you a card earlier. I'm going to pick a different one just for color purposes.
Sure. Charlotte Linlin, 12,000 power and toughness. It's a yellow card. It's 10 cost on play. So when it ETBs, when it enters the battlefield, basically.
Yes.
And this is a creature. It's a character. Okay, so this is like in your main deck, right?
Yeah,
okay. On play, if your leader has the Big Mom Pirates, okay, type, place up to one card from the top of your deck at the top or bottom of your life. Place one card from the top of your deck, the top or bottom of your life. So your life has a top and a bottom?
Correct. Yeah, the order of the cards in your life does not change unless you have an effect.
And that matters a lot. That matters, I guess. I guess it does matter because this card exists.
Yeah.
Then trash up to one card from the top of your opponent's life. Whoa. Trash is like discard to the graveyard somehow. Put in the graveyard. And this all triggers too. Like your opponent's
when it enters the battlefield.
And this is only when it enters the battlefield. 12,000 for a 10 drop. Like how does yellow? What's the gameplay of yellow usually like?
This effect kind of it's about manipulating your life deck is its like main unique design space.
So
like other
manipulating
things,
it or like increasing the size of it? Because like this one increases the size, but there's just some like take off your life too.
Both. It'll manipulate the size of it. It'll switch which cards are on top and bottom. Some of the cards will let you look at what your next card is and let you put it on the bottom or the top. So it lets you like manipulate your life, both adding and removing from it, and then also rearranging it. Okay. So like, it does a lot of stuff with like triggers, like remember the trigger card from the Whitebeard card. So like if you have a card that triggers, you can like time it. You can use it on purpose versus having to like just get lucky that it's the card in your life.
Right. Okay. Place up to one card from the top of your deck at the top or bottom
some
of
amount
your
of
life.
Story relevance. Charlotte Linlin is Big Mom.
Is what?
She is Big Mom.
She's the Big Mom. Okay, so top of your deck at the top and bottom of your life, and then trash up to one card from the top of your opponent's life. So this could be a control deck too, where you could just like play a bunch of these and like keep playing them and then like kill your opponent that way, because you could kill your opponent with that. Also you can also kill them by attacking them. This is also not a blocker. So like being 12,000 is like not even that relevant until it comes back to your turn. And it's 10 mana, which is like turn like what? Turn like 5 or 6 or whatever. You're slamming this down as a 10 drop that doesn't have blocker. So you're gonna want to play blockers first before you play this. This card's usually probably always gonna connect if the leaders have like 6,000. Your opponent can block this.
If they have a blocker, it still has to get through the blocker. Yeah. Like power doesn't negate blocking.
Does that have trample? Does anything have trample? Can you like deal damage through blockers?
This doesn't have trample and normal. No, you can't.
Okay, so if someone has a blocker, then they just get to block this for free with like a random 1 or 2 drop or whatever that might have blocker. Because I assume that blockers are relevant. And maybe some utility characters like have blocker already, and blockers are probably really important. Like how important are blockers? Like they're probably important, right?
Yeah, they're very relevant.
Okay.
Like there are cards people play just because they're a blocker and has like a somewhat relevant ability, and you just want to make sure you have enough blockers in your deck. So they're kind of like encounters are both like the weird, because your mana is outside of your deck. They're kind of the mana consideration where you just have to play these like cards that would arguably be fine, but because they have 2,000 counter or they're a blocker, you play them because the fact that they're just fine makes them good now because they have that adjacent needed ability.
2,000 counter is like from your hand you can discard this to like buff 2,000, buff something by 2,000.
Yes, correct.
Okay, got it. And there's 1,000 counters too?
Yeah, the majority are 1,000, and then like the good ones are the very good ones are 2,000.
Okay, and this doesn't have counter. This doesn't have counter. It's not a blocker.
Doesn't have counter nor.
It doesn't have counter. It's not a blocker. You manipulate one and then trash your opponent's card. It's 12,000. It's 10 mana. I mean, I think the mana cost is too high for like what this is doing. I think it has a lot of power, but that might be a trap. I'm going to say this card's bad.
Final answer?
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good?
It's like the main top end win condition for yellow decks. Yeah.
Really? Oh my god.
Yeah, it like getting a successful attack in is like the entire game, and so being able to do that in a way that doesn't require like is unstoppable, right? Like she doesn't have haste, but she basically has haste and an unblockable haste. And then on top of that, it lets you stabilize by adding cards to your life total. So it's like ostensibly, it's like in Magic, it would be
like a Siege Rhino, right?
Swing.
It's like a Siege Rhino?
Correct. Yeah. She's Siege Rhino. And then like mana cost is a little wonky to like apples to apples because like and Hearthstone was like this, right? A 6 and a 7 drop is a lot more playable in Hearthstone than it is in Magic because you are guaranteed to hit 6 and 7 mana eventually. Right. Versus in Magic, like you might just never get past 4 mana because you just don't draw the lands or you don't want to draw the lands.
So you're always getting to this card. Like you literally are always going to get to 10 mana in the game.
As long as you are able to survive, which this deck is able to do because it's a life total manipulation deck and then can play blockers to get there, you will always be able to cast this unless they kill you ahead of time.
Okay. I thought this card would be like way too slow for what you're trying to do, and the effect isn't like that busted for you to like pay 10 mana for this, because you're basically doing nothing the turn you play this besides like drain for like a fifth of your opponent's life or whatever, which is like it is a fifth, right? But depending on your opponent's leader, it could be a quarter. It could be anything from a quarter to like a sixth, which is pretty good. It's like a Siege Rhino that drained for 4. It's like a Siege Rhino that like drained for 4 or 5, which is really good. But like 10 mana and like your opponent can just have a baby blocker and block this. Like that's what was really confusing to me. But like knowing that this card is good, like what you said about like your opponent can't stop this kind of thing, and you're already manipulating your life total anyway. Yeah, okay, I can see it. It just seemed like a little bit too big for me, too wonky.
Yeah, it does like 4 things, right? It's an abyss, right? It is a like once this is in play, the other player will lose a blocker or a character or a life every turn moving forward, because it is like there are very few things that this can't just kill by attacking them.
I was thinking you just remove this. You could just like kill target character or whatever.
Yeah, the problem there's a lot of removal is also remove target character with X or less power.
Oh, and this has like gigantic power, so it's like not going to get
Correct.
removed. Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
and the other half of the removal suite is remove target character with lesser X or less mana cost or cost. So like on both ends, it's really removal resistant.
Oh, it just
There are
plays
some that
around your
remove it,
opponent's
but
removal by being huge.
yeah, so it's like it's kind of like how in like when Abrupt Decay was the most played card, Abrupt Decay and Lightning Bolt were the two most played removal spells in
So,
Modern. They made like Master
so
of
like a
Waves
4 mana
just
4/4
monsters.
is like really good in that case.
Correct, exactly, right? Like it you can't kill it with Lightning Bolt, and it can't get killed by Abrupt Decay. It just happens to be like have hexproof accidentally.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
So that's relevant. And then the other thing is because you're manipulating the top of your life total, the fact that when it enters, you are like able to kind of affect that. You then have other ways to kind of like take advantage of that. So it does kind of a few different things that you all need all at once. And sometimes it just wins the game, right? Like it wins the game out of nowhere because most of the time cards don't have rush, which is the haste variant. You know on your turn when you set up what the next player's turn is going to be, how much damage you're going to take. And then this is just like, no, never mind. You're taking an additional
Yeah,
one off the top.
so
And
you can just
weren't
never go to
prepared.
0 against this deck because if you do, you're dead to the if they just have Charlotte Lillian.
Correct.
Okay, makes sense. We have a red 1 mana character, Otama from Wano country. It's got the 2000 counter, and you said that was busted. It's got a 0. So you play this and it doesn't immediately die, or does it immediately die if you played this for 1 mana?
No. Yeah, it doesn't immediately die.
Okay, it just can't do anything. Got it. It's like Max C.
Yeah.
Where like you play it, but you're playing
No.
it for the on-playability, I guess.
Yeah, you're playing for the on-playability. You can also remember all your lands have plus 1,000, so you can pump Otama with your mana to make it. It costs 5 mana to do it, or 5 Dawn to do it, but you can make it a 5,000 cost or 4,000 or so, whatever you're trying to attack into. And any you can attack any rested character. This is less relevant to Otama, but just in general to know. So like if your character has another utility character, or say they have an Otama and you want to kill Otama for whatever reason, you can give your 1 cost 0 plus 1,000 to attack into their Otama, and then you'll kill Otama.
Okay. On play, I don't think this is relevant to this because it has an on play ability, but on play, give one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during this turn. Oh my gosh. I would say that's already on the good side because you want to be using the counter ability, and the 2,000 counters are really good. And just the fact that this is a 2,000 counter and also has upside is pretty good. I think maybe in red you're playing a more aggressive deck, so maybe your removal in red is more situational, but it also is removal for things that have like remove a thing that has 1,000 power or less, or like remove something that has like 2,000 power or less. So if something has 4,000 power on your opponent's board, you just play Otama, reduce your opponent's thing, kill your opponent's thing with your card, and then get in for damage. And this also just happens to be a 2,000 counter. I'm not going to spend too much time on this card. I'm just going to say it's good.
Okay, yeah, it is good. It was there was like a poll in Japan on like what card saved your life the most in the game of all time, and this was ranked number 1. It just does a lot.
Yeah, this seems like a slam dunk card for me.
Yeah, it like the fact that it's a 2,000 counter obviously is very good. The fact that it can come into play and act as both a way to make it so you can kill characters maybe you previously weren't able to kill, or make it so that your opponent's leader is 3,000 cost, so that you can pump your characters in a way that makes it do damage to it. There are also ways. One of the better leader cards is a leader card that lets you like return characters you control to your hand, so you can replay them and go back and forth.
Cool. Play this, interact with the board, bounce it back to your hand to have a counter for your opponent's turn. That seems like really good, really good.
Yeah. That leader is getting worse, but more just because red green right now is not as good as it used to be. But yeah, that's kind of it. She is very good.
Does your opponent lose their creature if they're a 4,000 and you attack with a 3,000, and then afterwards you play this? Does their character die?
No.
Okay. Because so it's not actually reducing the toughness of the card. It's like
damage. There's no like state-based damage.
Okay,
really, there's no state-based actions, right? Like a character that comes in, a character that takes damage. If it doesn't kill them right then, the damage goes away.
Okay, got it.
Or even if you counter a character, if you like use a counter on a character during a combat moment, and then they attack with another character, that 2,000 plus isn't still there.
Okay. All right, so yeah, we're 2 for 2. So I mean, yeah, this card just seems like actually busted to me. Okay.
Yeah, you are so far you got the Moby Dick right, you got Crocodile wrong, you got Charlotte wrong, you got Otama right. Okay, so this is the tiebreaker.
This
We're
is
here.
a tiebreaker. Okay, this is the moment in time for you in the comments to say, am I gonna go 3 and 2, or am I gonna go 2 and 3? We're gonna comment whether I'm gonna pass this test or if I'm gonna fail. Okay, do we have a believers and the doubters? Okay, let's go. Okay, this is funny because it's also a 10 mana 12,000, so like I could be getting metagamed here. We have a character called Monkey D. Luffy. And I didn't say Luffy, okay? I know that Luffy is a character. I almost said Luffy though. On play, Dawn minus.
I wish you had.
You're like waiting for me to say Luffy. I almost did. It's got Dawn minus 10 on play. You have to like discard all your Dawn when you play this.
Yeah, the Dawn goes back to your Dawn deck.
And it's max 10 or no?
Yes, yeah. You have your Dawn deck is totals at 10.
Okay. Place all of your characters except this character at the bottom of your deck in any order. Oh. Then take an extra. I didn't even read the other line. Then take an extra turn. Okay. Activate main, which is like a once per turn effect. Okay, it says once per turn here. Okay. Pay 1 Dawn, right? Is that what that is? You can pay 1 Dawn.
Yep.
Add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So you just get to ramp. Place all of your so you use all of your Dawn, get rid of everything. Your opponent keeps their Dawn. You take an extra turn, but then on your extra turn you get 2 Dawn to start your next turn.
Yes.
Okay, and then you get to pay.
So on your extra turn you add 2 Dawn from your Dawn deck, and then
you get to pay 1 mana to get to 3 Dawn. And then hopefully you have like a 2-drop that like gets you
one, and the one you add is active, so it's basically for free. You get a tapped Dawn,
and then hopefully you have like a 2-drop after that to like ramp you again to like get some more Dawn. And you already said that purple was kind of like the ramp thing, so maybe you like play this. You hold this and a ramp card in a 2-mana ramp card in your hand. Is there a 2-mana ramp card in the game? 2 mana like get a Dawn, 2 mana get 2 Dawn or something?
I don't know if there is. That is not the card that this interacts with. Here, I can the leader that this is often played with theoretically has a ramp ability as its ability.
And you can just use that ramp ability once per turn, or just go on your end step, or
basically.
And you just get 1 Dawn, or do you get 2?
So you do have access to ramp as you're playing this card.
Okay. Do you get 1 Dawn from the leader, or do you get 2?
The leader ability is Luffy. It's its own self, and there's annoyingly a sample card in the way.
You may add a card from the top. Once per turn, you can add a card from the top of your life cards to your hand. If you have 0 or 3 more Dawn on your field, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as that. So you would have 3 in that case. You'd go from 2, pay a mana, go to 3, and then since you have 3, you add a life card to your hand, and then you would have 3 on your field. You can add a Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So that gives you another mana. That brings you up to 4. Oh.
Technically, even better, the turn that you played the original Luffy, if it's not the turn if you hadn't used his ability yet, you can, because you have 0, right? So you can add a Dawn the turn you play Gear 5 Luffy, then take your extra turn, then you add 2, then you add an additional 1 due to the ability of the character, and then you can add another one. So you go from
0 to like
0
5
to 6, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0 to 5.
Place all of your characters except this character at the bottom of your characters. Oh, it's not your opponents. Place all of your characters except for this at the bottom of your deck in any order, then take an extra turn. Okay, so that's like a huge downside. You're not interacting with your opponent's board. Take an extra turn, you go up to 5. You can play this after you attack, right? There's a main phase 2. Oh no, it's like Hearthstone. You attack.
Yeah, you can attack with everything and then play this.
I'm thinking of the play pattern, right? You attack them and like make them interact with you or whatever. They don't know you have this Monkey D. Luffy in your hand. And then does your stuff die if they... No, your only stuff can die if they attack into a tapped creature, right? Your stuff doesn't die in your own combat?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So you attack and everything, they stop your attacks or whatever they want to do. And then you play this, put all of your characters to the bottom, take an extra turn, and then you have the 12,000 there. It just have that guaranteed, like, attack that you were talking about before with the other 10 drop with the mom. So they're going to have to block this for sure. Take an extra turn, go up to, like, and then you do the play that lets you go up to 5. Which is a detriment for sure. Gosh, this card's, like, really hard to evaluate for me. Especially knowing that the 12,000 and 10 mana isn't, like, that big of a deal to get up to. The Dawn -10. Oh gosh, this is so hard to evaluate. Getting rid of all your own characters just seems so bad. Maybe it's, like, so bad because it has to be, because this effect's just so good to get the Dawn cards from your deck. And even the turn you do this, you go up to 5. And then the next turn after that, you get to do the leader thing and this again. So you get to go up to, like, 5, 6, 7, 8. You get to go up to, like, at least, like, 9 mana the turn after you play this anyway. So, like, maybe you could just, like, loop these. Yeah. Maybe you can just, or you go up to 10 the next turn. Maybe you could just, like, loop these and go from, like, you play this, get rid of your board, who cares? Go up to 5. Next turn, you have a 12,000 attack. You attack them, they're forced to deal with it. And this plays around your opponent's removal being a 12,010. And then the next turn, you play another one, and then you put the other Luffy on the bottom. Like, can you have 2 of these on the board? Like, you can't, because it would shuffle the other one back. But,
yeah.
But can you... Is there, like, legendaries in this game? Can you, like, have more than one on the board? Can you, like, play one if another one's on the board?
I think there's not, like, an inherent mechanic. There might be a card that says you can only have one in play, but you can have both. You can have both of these in play at the same time due to what you mentioned. That it's ETB gets rid of the other one.
So you could, like, loop these and, like, always have 2 Luffys in circulation to where, like, you always have the 12,000 and they'll, like, never get rid of them because you're shuffling one back in the deck after you attack with it. And you can always get the 10 on your next turn after you play this. That just seems like a really, really annoying card to deal with. Like, you can never deal with it if they have 2. But, I mean, it goes to the bottom, right? So, like, they're going to get to it eventually, but maybe the game doesn't last that long anyway. It's 10 mana, so, like, maybe you're playing against an aggro deck, and they'll just, like, kill you before you do this. Especially because you're getting rid of your own blockers. So you're not going to have any blockers, but maybe you'll have, like, a couple of the 2,000 thingies in your hand. The fact that this ramps you so hard is... The fact that this takes away 10, but then ramps you so hard, like the turn you play it and the turn after. Man, this is... Oh, no. The turn you play it, you don't go up to 5. It's the turn after that you go up to 5. So you can't just loop these turn after turn.
The turn you play it, you go back up to 1 because you're a leader, because of the Luffy leader, purple leader.
Yeah.
And then the next turn, you're at 5. But you only that turn you will only have 4. The one of them is the one you tap to use the active main, but then the next turn you'll have 10. Or you can have 10.
You can have 10, yeah, through, like, abilities and through this ability and through and through the leader's ability.
In this ability, the leader's ability, and other cards you can play in purple, you could get up to 10 on the following turn.
Right.
You would probably want to be playing 4 of this card at that point if you're trying to.
Yeah, if you're trying to loop them, you would just play 4, right? Because you're constantly putting them into the bottom of your deck, and then maybe you have
there's only 50 cards in the deck, so it's
okay. And maybe you have, like, cards that like search for a card, which shuffles your deck, which, like, makes it not on the bottom anymore. You can, like, keep drawing into this card and keep playing it. You'll always have a 12,000 in play when you do this. It's just a matter of, like, are you going to have enough blockers in play to, like, die when you play this because you have to get rid of all your blockers. This seems like a Timmy card to me, honestly. It seems like a slam this down and freaking play my haymaker. Like, you either deal with it or you lose. And then when they deal with this, you just play another one. It's like the Timmy's dream. I'm just gonna say it's so hard to evaluate, and I'm probably gonna be wrong for this, but I'm gonna say this card's good.
So it's close, but it's not good.
No,
it's like borderline. It kind of reminds me of the other, like, when we did ours, there was, like, a conversation on, like, one of the cards was, like, is almost good, and, like, you could, like, if someone were to play one of these in their deck, it wouldn't be that big of a side eye, and the deck that it sees playing is very good, but it's not the standard card that deck plays, but it is, like, the highlight card from the set. You kind of were correct in describing the play pattern. There's no looping. You don't want to play more than one of these a deck. It's too expensive.
Oh, you don't?
For that.
Oh, that'd be so cool if you looped it, though.
It's just to your point, because you put them on the bottom of your deck, looping it is not. Purple isn't really like about making their deck very thin, so that doesn't really happen
I was
very
thinking you would
often.
play a search card after this, shuffle your deck, and then draw it.
There's not a ton of those. They're like the searching in the One Piece game, most of the tutoring, they've learned the lesson from Yu-Gi-Oh! It's all reveal the top 5 cards of your library and grab a thing of a specific like character type.
And you
So,
don't
like,
shuffle, you just put the rest
card
they put the revealed cards in the bottom, but you don't shuffle your deck.
correct. Yeah, you just and then you put them on the bottom.
Yeah.
They've learned the lesson that Magic has tried doing recently, that because they realized tutoring is like and shuffling is an unfun mechanic.
Yeah.
From the get-go. So like there are some tutors, but they're very rare and far and few between. It's definitely more of a like the play pattern you described though is correct. You play this, you now like it's not bad necessarily, right? You have this big drawback, but you play it after you've attacked and you've kind of wiped your opponent's board often because you attack their characters.
Right.
Like you play it in a moment where you know your opponent doesn't have a lot going on for a moment. Maybe they have cards in hand, but in play you've been able to remove their characters. So when you get rid of your characters, you then get this big attack on your next turn, and you have it a turn where you already basically start at 4 to 5 dawn. So you're just not that far behind, because getting to 10 dawn in purple isn't very hard. It ramps into 10 very quickly. And so you can rebuild your board, and you now have this 12,000 cost that you're attacking with. And card advantage is very good in the game, as it is in every game, but it's rare. So the draw an extra card effect of taking an extra turn is actually pretty great. But it's just like the drawback is a little too high. It costs 10. When it enters the battlefield, it kind of does something, but not enough. And then the ramp it's giving you just isn't enough to catch up. So it's not really seeing as much play as people wanted it to.
Okay, so I should have swapped the Charlotte Linlin theory with the Monkey D. Luffy, because I was like, man, this card's probably too slow or whatever. But then the Charlotte Linlin like theory behind it, like being a 10 drop with 12,000, like not many things can remove it. I'm like, well, if they can't just kill this, like if you had given me Monkey D. Luffy before you had given me Charlotte Linlin, I think I would have actually got both of them right.
Agreed. And that's why I did it the other way.
Because I would have been like, okay, well,
let me put my villain sunglasses back on. All right, cool.
Like, okay, well, like you can just kill this, and you're like, oh, well, you actually can't just kill this. And like, if I would have seen Charlotte Linlin after that, I'm like, oh, you can't just kill this. It drains for this much. I was like, oh, maybe that one's good. So yeah, you are a freaking master villain, my friend, and you're wearing the glasses to prove it.
I froze, but yes. So yeah, those are the 5. I also want to end on a Luffy card. He's the main character, so we needed to make sure we included one. And this is a hard one. I picked a hard one for last for sure.
Okay, yeah, that was really hard to evaluate because it's such a big drawback. But it's like reading the Linlin card before that, like maybe it's good. Your opponent doesn't have removal for it. You always hit for 12,000. Like, yeah, that was a good one. So unfortunately, the doubters were right on this one. All right, well, if you want me to be taught about a different card game, let me know down in the comments what card game you might want me to do. If you also want me to evaluate even more One Piece cards, I'd love to have you back, Kess, to do to another one of these. If you want me to be the victim.
The contestant is maybe the nice way to say it.
Yeah, if you want me to be the contestant of a card game, go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. If you are a One Piece fan and you want me to do this again, let me know what One Piece cards you might want me to evaluate or down below as well. And also, if you want to be a part of the show, once again, you can join my Patreon. The Patreon is down in the description below, where there's a bunch of ways to support the content if you'd like, monetarily wise. And also, if you want to be on the show, you can do that yourself as well, whether you are the teacher or you are the victim. Thank you, Kess, for being the teacher here, and I will see you in the next one.